All right, I've got 1032. Let's get started. So we're going to talk today about managing for success. Managing for success. So one of the first things, if you're looking for some reading to do during the holidays, there is a book called The Ugly Truth About Managing People. 50 must get right management challenges and how to really handle them. Some of the scenarios you'll find there are really, really funny. And hopefully you'll take some of those scenarios to heart, especially if they're happening in your organization. But there are some really good tools and resources that are available for you in this book with a little humor with it. My manager or my mentor always gives me this kind of picture when we're talking about managing people. He said, Greg, you know, one of the things that managers need to do is they need to have the right people on the bus. We need to get the wrong people off the bus. We need to have the right people in each seat, and we need to have the bus moving in the right direction. And so when we do that, management becomes really, really easy for everybody. Right people on the bus, right people in the right seats, the wrong people off the bus, and the bus moving in the right direction. So there are a couple of things that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about an approach using position, process, priority, and then we'll tie it all together with a promise. So when you think about management, you think about these four P's of management: position, process, priority, and promise. So let's take a look at position. And there are some questions we all need to ask each other as we talk about position. Question number one, are members of your team in the right position? Rhetorical question, but are members of your team in the right position? The second rhetorical question is, do you have a position agreement? Not the job description, but a position agreement. What else is involved in being in that position on that team? And then what are the key performance indicators? And how does your organization measure them? So let's talk about position. If we can, I want to use a sports analogy. So when we look at the baseball field, I played shortstop. Love playing shortstop. There was a lot of responsibilities the shortstop had to have on the field. So right here in the middle, for those of you that are not familiar with baseball, the shortstop is right here in the infield. And so the shortstop has a couple of responsibilities. Number one, you've got to cover this gap. Okay, so a lot of times you've got to turn the double play, especially if it's hit to the second base. You got some responsibilities to back up the third baseman if the ball is coming from the catcher. So there are a lot of different responsibilities that are outside of my job, which leads to my position agreement. You know, so there are other things that I have to be responsible for. But are members of your team in the right position? Do you have a shortstop that really wants to be a first baseman? Or what if the pitcher didn't really want to pitch? The pitcher wanted to be the catcher. Or what if you had a catcher who was really skilled, but they're in center field? So how do I look at my team? How do I look at my organization? And I identify the strengths and weaknesses of everybody on my team and put them in the right place to be the most effective on the field. Because we all have a role to play. We all have a position to cover. And so a part of my position agreement is I've got to understand not only what my role and responsibility is, but if my second baseman is out of position, how do I communicate with that person on my team to make sure that I can cover some of the things if they're out of the way or they're overloaded? Maybe they're having a bad day. Are there some things that I can do if they've missed a couple of balls to kind of get them back engaged? And so let's talk about my key performance indicators. How do I measure what's going on? How do I make sure I'm tracking everybody that's on my team? As we talk about managing for success, how do I manage what's happening on my team to make sure that I can effectively coach them to be the best that they can possibly be? Rhetorical questions. So as we talk about position agreements and being in the position, having members of your team in the right positions, let's talk about some of the communications that happens in all of our areas. Do we have the right people answering the call? Do we have them answering at the right time? Is that their peak performance time? Do I have the morning person on the phones, or do I have the person that's not really excited in the mornings on the phone? So what is it that I can do when I look at my organization in terms of making sure I have the right people in the right position? Or if you've seen this scenario on planes, trains, and automobiles, where the customer service person was handling a personal phone call with a line of people standing there waiting to be served. Is that your organization? Is that person in the right place? What does your position agreement say? Does everyone on your team understand the position agreement and how it works and what they're supposed to do? So there are some key things that we need to look at as an organization in terms of position. Right person in the right seat, wrong person out of the bus, bus moving in the right direction. So let's talk about the priority. What's the priority of your team? What are the needs of your team? Do you foster mutual respect and appreciation for everyone on the team and what they bring to the organization? And does your team enable other people to act? So when we look at the priority, what's important? What are the goals? This is a great time of year to look at goals. What is next year going to look like? What's crucial? What are the priorities that my organization really needs to focus on in the upcoming year? How will we train on that? What are the resources that we need? What are the priorities? How do I communicate those things right now so everyone on my team knows what's going on? What are the agreements that I need to have? What are some of the influential decisions that we need to make as an organization? Who do we need to have and partner with? What kind of quality product are we going to put out? How can I have everybody on my team engaged to make sure that 2019 is going to be a better year than 2018? How do I influence those on my team to get more out of them, to have them more engaged and everybody is moving in the right direction? How do I, as a leader managing for success, enable everyone on my team to participate, to become more involved? So those are some things that we've got to think about in 2018 as we close out the year regarding priority. What is going to be the motivators for us to become better at what we're doing in 2019? So let's move to the next piece, the process. Now, the process is very important. As a leader managing for success, we've got to develop a vision that includes everybody. Our vision has to be large enough where everyone sees themselves in this process. Now, I want to ask you this question. Have you looked at your process from the customer's vantage point? In the classroom a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about creating the vision, and I asked a question. I said, what would it take for an organization to be the customer one day, for that manager to step outside of those walls and do everything their customer has to do before they interact with one person in their department? So can I park somewhere and get a better feeling of what my customer goes through before they arrive at my place of business to transact business with me? What do they have to go through in order to get to my location? What does it feel like being the customer coming into my organization? What do they see? Are there things that we can do as an organization or that I can do as a manager to prepare that person for the best experience they can have with my process? What does that process look like from start to finish? Where does my process crumble? Where are the stress tests in that process that if we do this, it breaks? And a lot of times to manage for success, we have to get outside of our norms, being in that building or in that comfort zone of our area. We really have to put ourselves in the customer space and walk our process. We have to know what it feels like. We have to understand from a customer standpoint what it's like to be that customer. You know, one of the things that I had to do before training was I had to sit in the classroom and observe so many training opportunities that we do. So I was the actual student. So I have a feeling of what it feels like in that class before I was able to facilitate it. So I understand from a customer standpoint of sitting in a classroom for an hour, 2 hours, when a break needs to happen, what the material should look like, what it feels like to take notes. Well, what does it feel like to sign in on the kiosk? What does it feel like to have to order? Right. What does it feel like to have to read over the facilitator's guide? To prepare. So there are some things that you need to do and look at from the customer vantage point to make sure that you know exactly what your process feels like, looks like, and what you can do to make that process better. The second thing you got to look at in your process is how can you create an environment for learning? Everyone on your team is learning. How do they become better in your current process? What can we do as leaders who we're managing for success so that everyone on our team can be in an environment that is conducive to learning? How do we get better? How do we make it better? How do we create that learning environment where everybody is getting better? And then what does success look like in my process? When we finish, what does success look like? What does success look like? If my process breaks, where does it break, and what do I need to do to fix it? What does my success look like? When the process is complete, what's going to happen? How does it look? See, we've got to understand what the process is, number one, from start to finish, from our customers, from our employees, from the managers, from the leaders' point of view. What does that process look like? How do we stress test it? How do we know when it breaks? How do we know where it breaks? How do we know ahead of time what's going to happen, and how do we fix our process so we've got the resources needed in place when it happens? Those are the things that we have to be prepared for as we talk about the process and what's needed in our process to manage for success. And then the promise. What's the promise that you've made to your team, to your organization? And what's the promise that they've made to you? Number one, as a leader, do you model the way? You know, if you're gonna lead and you're gonna have the priority and you're gonna look at that process and you want to know that everybody's in the right position, what is the model and how are you going to model the way for that? Because accountability is the glue that ties commitment to results. And everyone wants to hold everybody accountable. So as the leader, I have to take some responsibility that the people that are on my team, number one, can hold me accountable, but I'm also expected to hold them accountable. And as we hold each other accountable, as we're committed to one another, we are going to receive the results that we're looking for. So how do we model the way? How do you model the way? Does everybody know what you're going to do? Do your words and your actions match up? So accountability. What's the commitment level you're willing to give to your team, to your organization, to the results? Have you communicated those with your team? How do we manage for success and manage that commitment level? There's an expectation that we want, that we have to deliver. So what's that commitment level? And then how do you encourage the heart? Every day, somebody on your team is doing something good. Have you recognized them? What are you doing to recognize them? You know, what's your recognition program? How do you encourage the heart so that you continue to get that same commitment level, so you continue to exceed the expectation? Accountability is the glue that ties commitment to results. So leaders have to model the way. Leaders, you have to be accountable, not only to your organization, upstream and downstream, but to your clients. Those people that are coming into your organization, you have to be accountable to them, that you're going to provide them with the best level of service that you possibly can. So what are the things that you're going to do to increase your commitment level in 2019? And how are you going to encourage the heart in 2019 to get everybody on your team, taking it up a level? So here's what we talked about so far. As we talk about managing for success, we talked about position. Finding out if all of our people are in the right position. Do they understand what their position agreement is? And do they understand what they have to deliver? Are you looking at the key performance indicators? Then we talked about the priority. What's the priority? Have we identified the priority for the remainder of the year, but also for 2019? What's the priority? What are we going to do as an organization? How are we going to do it? What's the process? What is our process going to look like to accomplish all those goals and things that we're planning for in 2019? What does that process look like? Where does it break? How do we test it to make sure that we have everything we need ahead of time in place or ready so that when it breaks, we still function at a high level? And then the promise. What is the promise that I'm going to deliver to my team, to my organization, to my customer, to make sure that we deliver a high level and at a high level and the quality that we want to deliver to our customers? What are we going to do? What am I going to promise? And how am I going to encourage the heart? How am I going to recognize the commitment? How am I going to be accountable? How am I going to hold others accountable? Those are the four things that we want to focus on as we finish 2018 strong, as we start 2019 strong. So guys, this was a short webinar. Hopefully you have something that you'll remember as we talked about for those 4 Ps. We'd like to hear from you. We'll have more webinars that are coming in 2019. We've got an exciting year that's planned ahead. We also want you guys to reach out to us on social media. Tell us what you think. What did you like about this particular webinar? Find us at the Personnel Board on Facebook. You can find the Spark Learning Center out there on social media. Like and share, and then tell us and give us some feedback on what it is that we've done well, what we've done not so well, what can we change, how do we get better? Okay? We want to deliver a good product to you so that these webinars give you some key nuggets that you can use in your leadership tools and help your organization move forward. If you want to contact me directly, hey, my information is on the screen, gregory.bone@pbjcal.org, or you can reach me at 205-279-3662, 279-3662. I'll open the lines up right quick for questions. If you have any questions for me as we talk about management for success, you can chat with me. I'll look at those, and if you have something you want to answer, by all means, let's see what you have. All right, so great information. Start at the top here. Too slow to play shortstop. Hey, I was pretty good at shortstop. Love that position. Sounds like pipes may be clogged. Awesome. Yeah, for those of you at Impact, if you don't know what the clogged pipes sound like or know that, you'll soon learn it. Looking forward to talking to you more about unclogging those pipes. Accountability. Points on accountability. We need to work on that. Good information that's provided. Any other comments, please chat with me. If not, guys, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to having you participate more in 2019. And hopefully we've given you at least 1 or 2 things in managing for success that you can use for your organization and for providing better customer service. Thank you for attending, and we look forward to having you in an upcoming webinar soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.